Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Slow, twizzling his beard in the Black Forest, listening to classic rock music, has donated $30. All right, where's my... Oh, no. Oh, no. Video capture. Video capture, Mr. Slow. Take a minute here to fix our window capture. All right. Properties. Yes. Allergiash. And it is not on the Swiss anymore. Ooh, you guys see the temperature there? All right. Viewer analysis. We're analyzing viewers. Viewer head shrinking stream. All right. Hello. We're twisting our beard. Twitch uses personal data collected on our services, such as page visits, through cookies and other devices. All right, whatever. Mr. Slow, thank you kindly donating $30. He's up to $8.30. It's $8.30. It's $8.30 for the Epic World Senior. Don't forget to make sure I register before September 15th. World Senior Porto Santo, Portugal Island Tournament, November. $30 from Mr. Slow in honor of our current analysis stream. All right, where's my study? I like these glasses, but they're not very comfortable. I like how they work. All right, so studies I contribute to this week, 29 August. All right. Register now. I can't. Not enough money in the bank account, despite your kind donations. This week I'm gonna have to do a bank transfer, and money's not in a place where it's that easy for me to send it to the organizers. I have to pay half my costs. Chapter 1. This is okay, now I'm confused. I'm in the wrong study. God damn it. Sorry about us. That was the wrong study. It looked the same. It had the same computer screen. There we go. Ubatis Mandrew. Planinic versus Matanovic. Schumacher versus me. The Mysterious Power of the New, who I'm really not sure if that's a subscriber, but I guess so. We have a double subscriber game. Is that right? Astrobate versus Era 404 Not Sound. I bit the side of my mouth and my throat hurt suddenly. Lasker versus Nedsteg. And then Boris 1505 against Moleskiner. There he is. Era 404 Not Rich. Era 404 Not Rich has tipped $5. Era 404 Not Rich, but you're rich in human-friendly spirit. Maybe not rich in Deutschmarks or euros. Move 11, hello. A founder. Move 11 he's got all the badges. Founder badge. Check this out. How many out there have the Cheer 10K badge active? Founder badge, VIP, 86-month subscriber, founder, cheer 10,000. Error 404 not rich. Thank you for the donation. $5, guys. We're up to 835. We're 33% of the way there. We're more than a third of the way. 33.4. So, all right. Without further ado, let's see if Ubatis is here. I guess not. Not in the study. I'm trying to judge. Yes, I do. I bit the inside of my mouth. Really feels good. You love it when you do that. You cannibalize yourself. Trying to get comfortable here. It makes me look fat. Does this make me look fat when I sit sideways? Do you love it when your significant other? It's a classic question. Does that make me look fat? Do we have room for another game? Yes. All right. No, honey, it doesn't make you look fat. Never say yes. Actually, no matter whatever you say, it will never be good, but try to limit the damage. Spectacular Countless here. Wearing black in the heat wave isn't smart. I guess you're right. I was watching tennis last week, and everybody has no, my bad. It wasn't tennis, but tennis too, but golf. Everybody has. Yeah, I bought a black. I realize now why people don't wear black hats. Yeah, I understand. Black attracts the heat, and white doesn't. That's why all these golf pros all have white hats, but the ugly white baseball golf hats are just so ugly. I hate them. All right. I don't think that matters if you're not in direct sun. Well, that's true. Looks good from the side, especially the master triceps. Tricepitops, they call me. Otherwise known as tricepitops. All right, you guys are nice. So I don't know. My point is, should I start with the Abatis game or should I start with Mr. Slow? It matters if it is hot and there's light. Believe me. I don't know. I just know those golf guys are always wearing white, so they're out in the hot and light. They must know something. But from a fashion standpoint, it looks horrible. Mr. Slow, always great content. I'm giving Ubatis the chance to go first because he's the creator of the study. He's my study assistant. But I don't think he's going to care if he goes first or second, to be honest. So, I got my iced coffee here. It's kind of warm. No. He'll accept that. Whatever that means. That's not an answer. Ooh. I'm going to make the call then. You're going first? Okay. Ubatis goes first. We'll save the great content for game 2. So Ubatis submitted a game. It's 10-0 from the pool. Should I wear my black t-shirt in the pool? I don't know. I feel like I don't know why I like black better than it makes. I know what it is, Mr. Slow. Black is slimming, so it doesn't make me look fat. That's why I prefer black. All right, G3. The white makes me look fatter. G3, E5. It's cooler, but it makes you look fat. I'd rather be like black and sweaty than white and cool. So all right, G3, E5, Bishop G2, D5. The sniper. Sniper is C4. The so-called sniper. Wet t-shirt contest. think Ben Fungold. No. All right. Sorry. D4. What is this? This is basically you're playing the Scandinavian in reverse with the fianchetto setup. If black plays E4, you missed the sniper. Yeah. Sniper is C4. This is sniper with a bad aim. But E4 can be met by C4, and we transpose to an English or a sniper if you prefer. So this is like the better move, theoretically. I think style should account for something. To be honest, if colors were reversed, black would have the option to play this, but here it would be a pawn sacrifice. So it's not really to be recommended. So he has to make a decision. Takes, and now I know from personal experience that you're supposed to play queen takes d4. And so we get, once again, a Scandinavian version of the Scandinavian. Reversed. But our hero here had a creative moment. Knight f3. I have played knight h3, and I don't strongly recommend this reverse 3 a.m. defense. Only do this, at home for fun. Don't play it in a tournament game like I did. Knight f3. Okay, now black can defend the pawn. But I've also played like similarly in blitz games. A lot of times players won't take it that seriously or play that accurately. And it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess c5 is critical. And now you could castle. We didn't talk about this. Yabatis and I had a little discussion about this today, a little bit of analysis, and I'm not sure that we seriously considered the possibility of delaying, action here. No, maybe we did. Okay, yeah, that's your move, castles. I mean, you could clearly play c3 right away. There's also weird stuff like queen a5, which I wouldn't recommend. You could play c3 right away, so we didn't look at that. If black takes, knight takes c3, d4, and then there becomes this debate about which way the knight should go. Queen a4 check, that's an unbelievable move. Queen a4 check. This is one of those variations that isn't gonna like hold up probably. When I force the wow. That's a cool idea. Enhanced sniper. This is like a bazooka. Knight g5. It's a sniper with a bazooka. You have this, and now mate in 1 with queen takes f7. So next time maybe try this immediate c3. Act now. Why castle? I mean, I think there's something to be said for it. You wanted to get your king out of the center. But maybe acting before the opponent has time to reinforce these central pawns. Checkmate 9 for 4 welcome. Maybe you want to hit him before he has time to set up. So, one thing about castling, black now plays knight f6. No, it's interesting. This develops the king side, but the other way would reinforce his lead pawn. So it's not that easy to say which is better. But here, so you have 3 breaks: e3, c3, and b4. And the nice thing about castling is that you have the ability to play rook e1. But say you play e3, black takes. Now, what do you do? This is just not that great. It's tempting to play rook e1, but black can play d4. Maybe that's actually not that bad. Wait, starting to get some serious compensation here. e3 takes, rook e1. So black should just play bishop e7, not try to hang on to the pawn. Bishop takes e3, and now castles. And white's just down a pawn with insufficient compensation. So checkmate, is that you? Checkmate is sending in a game. You are a subscriber. Guys, it's just, I don't understand why the heat doesn't stop. It's almost 100 degrees. And I looked at the map of like USA, and it was cooler, but then I realized it was like the morning there when I was looking at the map. All right, copy here. Hello. Add chapter. Still, it's like European heat wave goes on forever. Move 11, did I get a game from you? Move 11, did you leave already? He doesn't tend to stick around. Alex McFly. All right, anyway, let's finish this up. So c3, black takes, and now, we didn't talk about this, but with the knight on h3, I played games where the knight's coming to f4 to attack d5, and I would actually take back with the pawn, believe it or not. The point being was like, if your knight happened to be on h3, where it has the ability to go to f4, then you can use that knight to attack d5 and put the pawn on c3, but here it doesn't make sense. You have to take with the knight. I expect your opponent to play d4, and it looks like you would have to play knight a4 in that case. Anything else is too passive. But his pawns get like stretched out, and somewhat of a target. It becomes something of a target. It's also difficult for black to secure this pawn because you can't play like b6 on the long diagonal. Not so simple. This opening is dubious for white, but it's playable, and I think reasonable for a blitz or rapid game to get opponent out of book. But your opponent didn't bite and overextend himself. He tries to keep the tension, which is principle. Black plays knight to c6. I don't know, if developing the queenside pieces is a priority here for black. I think getting his king out of the center should be the #1 priority. Do we have a donation? And Antonymous has followed. Random Teacher 1207 has followed. So it's now 30. It's only a cool 37 degrees Celsius in my office. It's ridiculous. It's like it's 7 p.m. and it's still very hot. Knight c6 and now bishop g5. So this is a very interesting position. We have like Grunfeld like, it's a Grunfeld-like gambit, let's say. To the uninitiated, it may look like white has no compensation at all. But remember, black's king is still in the middle of the board in an open game. And so the Aronian like e4, which is one of Levant's favorite Catalan pawn sacks or Queen's Indian type structure. This is a nasty break. It looks like White's just giving up a second pawn for nothing. But it's not giving up a pawn, actually. This is just a temporary or shill sacrifice. If you take the pawn, White will get that pawn back. And I think White will get it back with interest. And I think the idea here would be putting Black on the spot with his king in the middle of the board. If you take here, White has multiple options, but just for argument's sake, let's say Queen takes. I guess Knight takes, and then White has any number of moves. The most obvious being like Knight G5. Clearly, we're getting Pawn B back, but we also have a huge lead in development, and the Black King's in the center of the board. So we're 2 pawns down. We're going to get one back, and then we're going to have a huge lead in development that's not going away. So you make your own conclusions there. I think if E4, Black needs to keep the lines closed with D4, and then we have another interesting position. So you have the thematic E5, sending the pawn to its doom, or obviously you can make a normal move like Knight A4. I just want to point out like some tactical ideas here. For example, if B5 were to be played, our knight is trapped. But sometimes this type of shot might work. I'm not sure that it works in this position, but stacking up against those pieces on the C file, plus E5, I mean, let's see. Apparently it's just shy of sound. Not quite. Knight A4 is not enough. This looks passive. Therefore, we play either E5 or this move. This feels very thematic. Because now, if you take a second pawn, you choke on it. After Queen takes D5, White has the very nice E5, among other things. This is. Hello. There's your king in the middle of the board. All right. Anyway, so you didn't go for that. You played Bishop G5. This isn't as good. It's good, but it's not as good. I think this is more aggressive, and it doesn't give him any time to react. With Bishop G5, he has time, and he wisely reacts here, developing his kingside. And this is the problem. You have to give up a good piece with Bishop takes F6. I'm sorry to see that go. I think that bishop is a powerful piece, and we're trading it off. It's a shame to lose that. After bishop takes now, I was wondering, I mean, it's never good to be like materialistic when you're playing a gambit. First of all, I'm having hallucinations. But what about queen takes D5? Seriously. If you take on D5 with the queen, do you just win the pawn back? Yeah, we'll do your game later on. You have a game? I didn't know you had a game, Sun Prism. Do you have a game? Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't aware you had a game in the list. composement. I just want to see game for Thursday. When was this sent? Why don't I see these messages when people send them to me? I don't understand lichess. I don't understand why I don't see the messages when people send them to me. No fear, we can do it later. If I don't die of heat exhaustion. Anyway, so we're still in game one. Queen takes d5 is interesting, no? Spectacular Camel? Black is fine, white is probably okay. If takes, bishop takes b2, you have this check on c7. Or, maybe just rook here. So I think that's a situation where black is simply gonna just, actually looks pretty good. I guess it's a safer move to take with the queen. You just get your pawn back, and the position is fairly equal. So instead he castles, and now you played e4. The problem being that your pawn is hanging for reals now. Your timing here wasn't great. Now there's no knight c7 fork, so you don't have quite enough compensation. Rook b1, bishop d4. So I didn't realize your opponent played this. For some reason, I was thinking your opponent played this. We looked at this and we said, oh yeah, here unbelievably there's 2 games in the lichess Opening Explorer. Unbelievable. And both guys played queen c2. Bobby Fischer reached the exact same position, pawn down, and played queen c2, along with another guy, Pinochet. So Pinochet and Bobby Fischer. But queen a4 is a better move. Queen a4 would have prevented the opponent from playing b6. It was stronger than those guys. But anyways, your opponent played bishop d4, which makes sense. I guess, in some sense, it makes sense. On another level, it doesn't make sense because it blocks the knight. So I don't know if you should take it. It's not going anywhere, so to speak. Maybe you're better off playing a queen a4 type of move. Sack draw. This reminds me of the last poker game. There was like too many players. We'll have one stream where there's nobody there, and then the next week there's too many people. I've had streams like analysis streams lately where like literally there was only 4 or 5 games, and now I have 9 or 10. Because it's summer, end of summer thing. Everybody's coming back. But anyway, my question is here, do we want to do this or not? Yes, it's a strong bishop. But what's the follow-up, and are we bringing this guy's knight to a powerful square? I agree, it's not easy. Maybe you could play around it. I'm even having really strange thoughts here of doing stuff like 92. But I mean, the bottom line is you're down a pawn. Yeah. So you took. He could have taken with the pawn as well. He took with a knight. The knight is very actively placed on d4. Black is definitely okay. The question is how much compensation you have. And now you played a really funky move, e5, furthering your development. No. But this could also backfire because you push e5, but you also, it's kind of funny in a way, you like increase your control of d5. In a way, you lose it. Where's Nedog? Nedog works for a moving company in Boston, Allston, Massachusetts, and that city, Boston, is like the #1 city in the U.S. for universities and colleges. And when you work for a moving company in such a place, late August is like game over, man. Bishop e6. Black just goes after the knight, making sense. Knight f4. And now, boom. Grab, grab. And so how do we evaluate this position? It looks like you've been like struggling to prove enough compensation the whole game. You've got something. These pawns are broken now. Black's extra pawn is an isolated pawn. And for the first time, there are some sort of kingside threats. I'm again, the whole thing, where you played e4, Tobias, e4, e5, it's a Grunfeld, but it's also a Catalan, but it's also a little like a Queen's Indian, Polugiewski gambit. It's easy for Black here to kind of underestimate your threats. I anticipated Queen g4 and Knight h5. However, Black might have Bishop e6 to attack the Queen. This move, Queen c8, very, very strange move, preventing Queen g4. It's a really strange move. He's asking for a knight fork at e7. He didn't clear the back rank for his heavy pieces. He's attacking a piece on b7 that's protected. He's getting behind the c pawn. Is rook b2 a threat? Well, I mean, if you consider winning that exchange a threat, then it's a threat. I'm not big on taking on a8 with bishops, and I think our friend, I think your friends in Yugoslavia would probably agree. So rook b2 is a threat, but I'm not sure bishop takes a8 is a threat necessarily, because white will have problems with the diagonal and knight f3 check. So yeah, Ubatis didn't do that. I think it is a move you've got to consider. Black would have bishop c4, and taking this pawn is yeah. Good question though, Mr. Slow. Asking questions for the peanut gallery. Queen h5. Yeah, now the one thing that Black wants to do is probably trade queens. If he can trade queens, then he's not in any real danger. So I'm instantly going to play queen f5 here. On the other hand, Mr. Slow's idea now makes sense. Takes. Now, if you get an endgame where you win the exchange, now I agree. This case, it wouldn't be so simple. Like bishop c4, rook c1. Bishop's actually struggling to find a square. And then bishop takes a8. And I like white. So queen h5. Black can't trade queens. And he plays a strange move now. You're threatening maybe bishop e4. Okay, knight e6 just simply aims to it just simply aims to trade pieces. Should be 4, G6, and oh my god! I was expecting you to play Queen H6. There's a really nasty threat of Knight H5. Unfortunately, Black could trade knights. And Black would live to fight another day, probably. So, Yubatis takes on G6. Threatening Knight E7 check. Threatening the rook. And then, you know, opening up attacks against H7. Needless to say, Black has to take. But he takes, you know, the wrong way. If there is a right way. If there is a right way, he didn't find it. So here's the question. Is there a right way to take on G6? Yes. Does it help? Maybe. So the only way to take on G6 is to take with the H pawn. But here we have bishop takes G6, threatening mate in 1. And if you take, you get mated. But Black has a move here. Running away doesn't work. King up doesn't work. Check, and there's no escaping to F6. But the one try that Black has is Knight G5, and I guess it's not enough. It would only buy him momentary happiness. Lose picture. Picture. Did anyone else lose picture? What are we watching TV? Can you guys adjust the antenna on the roof? Knight G5, Queen G5. Oops. Is there a way we can survive here? There is, but it's pretty ugly. Ugh. Not for long. Black's not long for this world. Wow, that's pretty nice, man. Bishop takes G6, there's just no answer. There's no answer, literally. That's nice. Nice job. Good game. All right. That was Yubatis. We're on to Planinich. Now, Planinich is a submission from our supporter, Mr. Slow, who donated $30. But I need to show you guys the end of the game. Sorry about us. The last move. What actually happened was he took the F pawn and then got mated in 1 with Queen takes H7. Whoops. Showering the board with gold coins. Anyway, that was a nice game. Good job, man. So, Planinich is playing Matanovic. Matanovic is a well-known grandmaster from Serbia, I believe. Well, anyway, former Yugoslavia. And this game was played in Ljubljana in 1969. Matanovic was big with Informator. He was always like one of the main guys. Albinich. I don't know what sex draw is implying there. So we have E4, E5, experienced grandmaster playing Black. It's 1969, Vietnam War. F4, King's Gambit. This Albin. This is not an Albin. That's his first name. No, Albin is the Christian name. The Orthodox name. I guess, if you're Yugoslavian. I don't know. Okay, f4. Um, King's Gambit it is. Pawn takes pawn. Bishop c4. Aha! So what is this called? Bishop's Gambit. I used to like to play this in Blitz when I was young, and though I never really studied it. A lot of people like to toss that Queen h4 check. There's so many games in the lichess Opening Explorer that it's like freezing my computer there. Ivanchuk. Yeah, I mean, it's a playable variation for white, but it's more playable in 1969 than it is today. And the King's Gambit was more playable in 1969 than it is today. It still remains playable, but people have access to computers, and openings like the King's Gambit lose a little bit of their, I think they lose a little bit of their appeal. Everyone has this like equalizing computer. Black plays a very unusual move here, knight e7. So that's provocative. I mean, clearly, if you play knight f6, I just want to mention that like this is a normal idea, right? Knight f6, knight c3, and then c6. And black will try to hit the center with d5. This is round 2 game and the second win for Albin. You're confusing us. We're gonna talk about him like we're his gym teacher. All right? Pascal, like Emery Tate. When you call people by their family name, I think it's like it's patronizing a little bit, and you're talking down to them, and you put yourself on a higher level, a higher pedestal. That's why Emery Tate would always call me by my second name. It would give him a sense of power. Pascal. So Planich. Albin. No, he would never call me Bill. Planich. If we call him Albin, we're equals. But if we call him Planich, we patronize him a little bit, like the gym coach. Sieka. And our gym coach would also not only like call you by your family name, he would mispronounce everyone's name. And I think he did it on purpose to just humiliate people. All right. Closest thing English has to the second person. Well, I mean, I guess. There's more to it. There's more to it. I'm just throwing ideas out there. It's a little bit of banter. But I do think that calling people by their family name is sort of impersonal and sort of patronizing. Okay. So knight f6, not played. Knight e7. So you keep d5, which hits the bishop, but you have this idea of like knight to g6, hanging on to Mr. Pawn. This is the thing I'm most concerned about. I've never looked at this position. So majority of players here played knight c3, but there's also knight f3. Clearly white could also play d4. But I would think like developing your pieces is first and foremost. d4 can wait. Knights before bishops. That's why we play bishop c4. So the only person that plays this is Ivan Sokolov. Good company though. Knight c3. Now, if black plays d5, it's just a move, right? You could give the pawn back. Here's a question. If black were to play d5, which way would we recapture or capture? With the knight or with the pawn or with the bishop? There are two instances of d5 being played. White played pawn takes in both cases. I don't think that's a no-brainer. I think even bishop takes needs to be considered. Although I guess here you have issues like queen h4 check. Maybe because of queen h4 check. Well, you can always play king f1. Yeah. But anyway, so black plays c6, and now what? I saw Mr. Slow, not Mr. Slow. I always do this. Mr. Slow and Someone on Sound always playing the simuls, and so I start mentally confusing them, calling them by the wrong name. The other day I saw Someone on Sound playing a Vienna with white, very similar to this position, actually. And Someone on Sound got in trouble, again, in a similar type of position by playing queen f3, but here, the point is like d5 is coming. So queen f3 aims to stop it. This classic, let's say, there's also, by the way, you know, if you wanted some historical perspective, he takes f4, queen f3. Breyer Gambit, named after Breyer Jula. I did some of his games for a video series. This idea obviously also borrowed from the Latvian. After knight f3, f5, knight takes e5, queen f6. You also see it, okay, in the Vienna, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so queen f3 is a typical idea in these type of structures. We might take the pawn. It also develops the queenside, making queenside castling possible. But most importantly, I think that the queen discourages d5. So black now, I have to say, I always feel uncomfortable playing moves like g5. I never know when it's good and when it's not. This move looks safer. But on the downside, black kind of just gave up on the whole d5 thing, you know. So there's something like a little bit inconsistent in black's setup. Looked like everything was hinging on playing d5. Now he's suddenly not doing d5. He has this here, which is easily prevented. He's hanging on to the f4 pawn, and there's still some possibilities of attacking white with a piece coming into h4, but nothing clear. d4 looks, I won't say it's forced, because I suppose you could allow black to take the bishop. So theoretically, white could play an alternate move here, like theoretically, but they don't look appealing. I mean, if you played, like, for example, d3, this looks unpleasant. There's also queen check. Anyway, so now d4, and then here in the opening explorer, Multan Lai, I don't know how you pronounce his name, the Australian guy. He's a GM, I guess. He lost to Subramanian, who's a very strong Indian woman. Before Humpy, she was like the number one. But d4, stopping e5, and also making bishop c5 impossible. Black plays bishop e4. And there's a game here with Davor Rogic as black. And another player is 2300. So does black have anything else besides bishop b4? I mean, the check, we could just play g3 and then sack a pawn permanently, like pawn takes. And white could alternatively consider things like king f1. But I don't like this move. You know, I think that black's not right doing that. So there's one game with d6. That's what the Subarama played. Because I can't pronounce her last name. Or I don't know which is which now. Talking about an Indian player. It's worse than Hungarian. Okay, bishop b4, developing a piece. And now knight e2. This almost feels like a scotch. We're playing the black side of the scotch with the piece configuration. Now one player played knight h4. Which looks very artificial to me. I don't know what you guys think. It's a nice trick, man, but I mean, nobody's going to play queen f4, and ultimately the knight's going to be attacked by g3. So, like, what does this do? Now, wait. Jesus, wait's 2271. This is 2000. He plays queen h5. I mean, why not just queen f2? There's a problem? I guess he wanted to stop queen g5, but I thought just here. So, I mean, we're threatening this. This looks really weird for black. And maybe he's okay. Maybe he has stuff like d5. One of the good things about black's bishop b4 is that it kind of renews the threat of d5. Black's score, yeah. But I mean, who plays the King's Gambit these days, you know? Apparently, they're not good enough. I mean, Molten Lai, he's really risking playing King's Gambit against a higher rated player there. In 2007, she was 2459. Probably at her peak, I would say. She's no doubt like a men's IM, WGM. But it seems a little insane to play the King's Gambit against someone who's like 150 points higher than you. All right, so knight g6, d4, bishop b4, knight e2, castle. That's got to be better than knight h4. I don't trust knight h4. And so now white castle. You see, the problem is d5. The white's king is still in the center of the board. So this looks correct to me. And now, random guy with white. Again, not a good idea to play the King's Gambit against someone who's 350 points higher than you. If you're 2100, don't play the King's Gambit against a Grandmaster who's 350 points higher than you. Just pro tip, you know. I think it's okay to play the King's Gambit against someone who's like around your level, but I wouldn't play it against someone that good. So Rogic beat him, and Rogic played queen e7, which it just puts pressure on this pawn here, but it doesn't hold the f4. White took the pawn back, and black played knight e5. Neat trick, dude. Sneaky Croatian tactic. You're wondering why he played queen e7. Aha. Takes, queen c5 check, bishop e3, queen takes c4. To be honest, this looks really, really, really scary for black. I wouldn't be surprised if black were lost here. Too many pieces, suit and body attack. 1, 2, All these pieces, man. Ooh, bro, he's lost. He was lost. Wow. Remember to play the King's Gambit against someone 300 points higher. Anyway, White fell into the trap there. But this may be better. Queen f6. I don't know. Do you guys have any suggestions for what black should do here? How about d5? Pawn takes. You could always sack a pawn to break up white's center. I would think something like this would be interesting. Peter doesn't like it. It doesn't like it so much it's the best move. Wow. The engine doesn't like it, but it's the best move. D5 is the best move for black. I'm just saying, like, this center is very strong. And apparently white is just better. And so this is still his best try. You know, I'm up a pawn. I can give it back. But queen f6 looks a little awkward. Queen is awkwardly placed there. It's getting attacked by e5, obviously. And now he goes back. So he induces the pawn to advance, hyper-modern style. What about the bishop out on b4? First thing I would be concerned about is this. But maybe black can do like a fork, force the trade, take back with the bishop. Maybe black's okay. So he doesn't take the time to do that. He takes with the bishop on f4. And you're developing a new piece with that move. He's not concerned about this because that's like the what's it called? The Rogic game, where we're starting to get very serious attacking chances on the king side. That poor 2100. He had really big attacking chances there. Yeah, I mean, you would think like knight takes f4, but I think ultimately the moral of the story is that this knight is so scary here that it's actually probably better than a bishop. Local knights union. Knights are powerful, short-range pieces, you know. We don't need a bishop, the knight's good enough. So knight takes f4, d5, takes, and now I was expecting him to take with the bishop, but apparently black is anticipating rook ae1. Knight takes e5 tactic, huh? Well, you've got your knight takes e5 tactic again. And then takes queen c5 check, bishop e3, queen c4, similar to the other game. Black is lost here because the student body attack is too strong. Now I could play, well, maybe he could play a different move order. He could take first. Maybe that's better. And then take here. And then take, and then check, and then bishop e3, and then takes. But still, the e5 pawn, knight, bishop, queen, rook, and the other rook coming over. Black has no development, and I think he's getting mated. You're not lasting long against, Larry Christensen in this position. It's a student body attack, exhibit A. Any kind of brute force attacker is going to kill black here. Yeah, it's probably like +4. Plus 3.5. Plus, oh, did I say +4? I said +4. Well, just, what do I know, about evaluations? All right. So bishop takes f4. Knight f4, knight f4, d5, e takes e6. He realizes, oh shit, the rook's going to attack my queen. I'll take with the queen. But now there's the d4 pawn that's hanging. If it was like white's turn, I think it's game over, probably. Oh no, it is white's turn, my bad. Yeah, we can't play knight e4, and rook d1 is kind of lame. Well, if white had 2 moves in a row, he would definitely be winning. This is a surprising move. I honestly thought white might even consider knight here. Then black could play the rather strange bishop d2 and try to trade pieces, I guess. This is a surprising move, though. I mean, obviously, this looks okay. But is white winning necessarily? And we'd really rather have the rook on an open file. So, now I would imagine, something like king h1 when we, we gambit the d4 pawn. But is there a tactic here? It's so close, it looks like we have knight e6. But the bishop defends the rook at f8. That's a problem. So he defends the pawn. And black plays bishop e6. I'm nervous about that bishop on b4. Maybe you ought to just give up its life before it's too late. Chess Poems rating with Party of 11. Chess Poems. Our first raid from Chess Poems. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I think it's the first time. All is well. Bishop b4 is hanging out to dry. It's pinning nothing. I keep thinking like maybe black should just do this exchange. But you don't want to do it if he's going to reinforce with the pawn, the d4 pawn. So he plays bishop e6. And now, oh no. See, that bishop all along, it went to b4 to pin the knight, and now it's just there. That's not good. So Matanovich is getting tanned. Bishop e7. Sorry, queen e7. And bishop out there on b4 doing nothing, while all of white's pieces are coordinated. Best case scenario, black can play like bishop a5, bishop c7, which is very slow. But white has given up his dark square bishop. So I'm not sure how easy this is. I don't think that white has a +4 advantage here, like in the other line. Bishop e6. If you take with the pawn, black has a horrible structure. For example, pawn takes, queen takes, rook takes. I guess king takes. When there's a very sort of high likelihood black's going to lose a pawn, although not automatically the game. He takes with the queen, that was the plan. And now knight f4. But is this enough? Two knights, the queen, the rook. Do we have a killer like knight h5 and frontal attack with the pieces without any pawns? Can we get an advantage in some other way? He plays queen e7. I'm honestly not sure. But I have the feeling that white may have started to think about stuff like queen b3. So if you go here, you may defend against knight h5, but you leave this out there. So suddenly there's a huge problem with this. For example, b7, and then further pressure here, and you're just going to lose material. But you can see that black is behind in development, and this is a bad square because it blocks the knight. Black doesn't have a good square, more or less. So he goes to e7, and then c3, simple move. And then obviously you have a choice, bishop a5 or bishop d6. He plays this, but now the queen's on the e file. Very natural move. So can black survive by trading pieces? For example, chop, chop. What do you menace? Is white winning? Well, he's very close to winning, but is it enough? I'd be hard pressed not to trade the knight off. Black plays queen d8. I mean, that's really pushing the envelope. It looks like knight h5 is really dangerous. But yeah, actually, I don't know, man. What is black going to do after knight h5? f5? He's going to have to play something desperate. Seriously, this looks extremely dangerous. I'm threatening knight f6 check, which has to be winning. Queen e7 must be an accuracy, no? Well, as I said, he doesn't have a good square. One thing I didn't seriously consider queen f5. I mean, well, you have to. This sort of g4 idea. We'd still end up going back ultimately, but white would weaken his kingside very slightly. I mean, I just don't think he has a good move. But objectively, yeah, I mean, maybe e7 is better, or maybe c8 is better. Maybe resigning is better. Yeah, it likes queen h6, so maybe there's something I missed here. If queen h6, I thought this was just serious trouble. Yes, bishop d6, I see. 13,000, no, 139,000 issues are slowing down my PC. Unbelievable scam. What an unbelievable scam. $139,000 issues are slowing down my PC. All right, dude. So, bishop d6, and the idea is knight d6, queen d6, and then d4 is hanging. So queen h6 was the best try. Queen b3, he was probably afraid of and didn't calculate it far enough. The sense I got was that he wanted to keep this protected and keep this protected. You're suggesting queen c4. Queen c4 leaves the queen in an exposed position, and I think that white would play c3. And anyway, black is done. So queen h6 was the best try. Here, queen h3. Again, how strong is knight h5? This is winning, and it looks like, wow. f5, knight f6 check. I was just wondering about this. f5, knight f6 check. Oofville. Well, I mean, you could simply like say, well, I'm trading, you know, 2 knights for rook and pawn, but we have another idea involving the rook in. Black punished for having no development. So queen h3 was a little hesitant, but I think white has it under control. Should be 7, then knight h5. Unfortunately, now f6 is protected. So it probably was better to play knight h5 immediately. And now he can play knight d7. Not seeing any tactics. I never look ahead on the game score. I don't want any spoilers. f5 square. There was a time that Roman sacked a knight on g7 against me. That's always like devastating. You know, you just never expect knight on g2 and knight on g7 sacrifices. It's always f7 or h7, f7 or h7, or h2 or f2. But it's very rare that you get sacked on g7. But here it could be, good evening. There could be a kind of knight takes g7 because I see this square and I see dead people, you know. Something beautiful like knight g3 pivoting back to go to f5. The truth is, it's probably not enough. It's close. Looks like black's just barely hanging on. So he goes queen g4. Ah. Subtle, weakening the black king position. And then what? So what does this do? Oh no. Oh my god. You ask one question, you get a great answer. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I saw it last move, and we all know that this is defended twice, 3 times, 4. So he induces g6 to then play queen takes c7. That's very cute. And now black has to take on h5. And now black's king side is smashed. So we don't have to trade queens. Well, we shouldn't trade queens, obviously. This is no situation to be trading queens. Black has queen d5. So if you play something along the lines of this, you're going to have to grind him down in some ending like queen d5. Not ideal. That's why he plays queen h3. And so there's this, the broken king side. Queen and knight coordination. h4, rook f5, king h8, rook f1. And then, you know, one would imagine that black could maybe last a little while here if he defended carefully. So he plays queen d7. Yeah, I was thinking queen c8 because I like my queen being defended, but here, queen d3. Surprise! That's a nice move. And obviously queen c8 is worse because it obstructs the rooks on the back row. Here, oh, another little petite tactic. What about knight f6 and rook h5? Is the bishop going to obstruct defensive h7? So we can go knight f6 now. Oh, even more beautiful. Yeah. I was thinking this might work, right? If knight f6, bishop f6, rook h5. Black has a defense, though. This very annoying bishop takes d4 check. And that's the point. Because if the pawn moves, If the f-pawn moves, you defend. So this is so safe, you know. No, you're not winning necessarily after f-pawn moves. Yeah. After queen d3. Yeah, well, no, I mean, no, clearly queen e6 is a blunder. He missed rook e5. No, this is black's last chance. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if black wasn't 100% lost here. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were either. Yeah, your f6 type of move. It looks bad, I agree. The problem is, you know, it'll come in at some point. They'll get f5 and they'll like hang on, you know. Agreed. So this is the final blunder. And now rook e5 here. And like that other move, the petite tactics. Again, if rook h5, black has f5. Cannot allow f5. Even f6 should be prevented, so it's just very nice. Rook takes e7. And then if queen takes, we play knight here, and that's beautiful. Very elegant. Totally outclassing his opponent there. He was a well-known GM, although I don't know how strong Matanovich was in 1969. All right. Schumacher is next. Schumacher, the power of the new. I don't know if they're even a subscriber. Asterbait, Snedsteg, Muleskinner, Sun Prism, probably I should put in there. Technically, he was first. And then Checkmate 944 is last. Move 11 just stopped by, asked if there was a place, and then left. Happy Labor Day. There's a rumor that Move 11 is playing in a tournament. All right, guys, I'm going to get a drink here. So, what about you guys? Anybody else playing any chess tournaments? Do we have anyone else playing this weekend, the long holiday weekend in America? Slaggy's first tournament of all time is what Move 11 is playing in my first tournament of all time, the New Jersey Open, 1985. Brah. 2 weeks, I will go for a weekender and beer tasting. Now that's a tournament. The Germans do it right. Sex draw. Oh, gifted a gift sub to TQE1Z. What's a double? A double. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's unusual. I don't think I've ever been at a two-player team tournament before. Couples. No, doubles like tennis. That's cool. All right. Ooh, man, it's brutal in here. We're chilling at 37 degrees Celsius in my office right now. It's 29 on the street, but it's 37 on the roof here. Wait a second, I can get more air. I have to modify something. We need more air. All right. Air. The sunshade. I live like an Egyptian. I've got all these like mechanisms to naturally cool my room. It's like I feel like I live in Cairo. It's like crazy. Budapest is the new Cairo. If I pass out, guys, I think I'm gonna have to shut down the stream. Brutal. All right, next. I'm trying to like hydrate. I thought by now it would get better. It's already like almost September, and temperature just not changing. All right, that was a great game. So Schumacher versus me. This was a game we played in Tuesday's tournament. I'm in Budapest, Hungary, and the temperature according to the internet is, whoa, what was the hat? Oh, that's crazy. Wait a minute. I just saw something on the news. You gotta check the Hungarian news. Oh, that's a different guy. Okay. So it's supposed to be 28 degrees according to the online weather, but I live on the roof of my building and the penthouse suite, and because the roof takes a lot of heat, the temperature up here is very high. So even now, in my office, it's like 99 degrees Fahrenheit with the fan on. Downstairs maybe it's 30. Just all right. So let's go. This is a game I played with black, but we'll look at it from white's perspective. Okay. He played a good game. I'm black. I play e6 a lot, but white plays knight c3. It's terrible. A lot of those European countries don't really use ACs. Well, my apartment, we had 2 AC units downstairs. I'm upstairs, and it's 2 floors. The downstairs AC units stopped working like last year or so, and we weren't living here for like a year, so we didn't get them fixed, and we just moved back. So we have 2 air conditioning units that don't work; they're not functioning, and then upstairs is just like fans only. Get it? All right. But speaking of OnlyFans, we haven't seen Arsenal in a long time. Okay, I'm black, and I'm tired of playing the Nimzo. So there's just not a lot of other options, So you got to play the Queen's Gambit, which I hate. I hate playing classical stuff. So as a hypermodernist, I have to play the Benoni. I just don't know the Benoni that well. So he plays d5. I know the Benoni better for white. ED, CD, D6, blah 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 blah, G6. And this is I'm black here. My opponent Schumacher submitted this game. He played H3. I don't know. This might be technically like not the main move order. But what can black possibly do to take advantage of it? Yeah, I mean, I think that's stupid to play the Queen's Gambit. At least in games where you're like playing for a win. I played the Queen's Gambit against Zoltan Ribley once and drew on board 1 for my team. But that was only because he like freaking surprised me. He was supposed to play knight f3, and he's like former world-class player playing knight c3 against him. Like, what are you doing, man? You played knight c3, you're not supposed to play that. You never play that. So I was like smelling a rat I felt he had prepared for my Nimzo, and I had to play the Queen's Gambit declined. It was like total desperation. I very rarely play the Queen's Gambit declined. Um, but there are more aggressive variations within the Queen's Gambit decline, to be fair. So h3, bishop g7, knight f3, and now here's the interesting moment. White, black rather, could play a6, but what does it do? You know, and what's the point of a6? I don't really get it. You know, white can play a4 or even bishop d3. I mean, what does it do? What does a6 do? Does anybody understand? A6, does it have a purpose really? To try to play b5? I did play the main line, but the problem is like it's too simplifying. I knew I shouldn't do this, but I don't really know how to play another line. I castled, he played bishop d3, and I played b5. I played this position a lot with white, and you know, I think that I faced everything. Knight h5, rook e8, a6, and the move b5, obviously. There's even bishop d7, probably. Knight a6. You know, everything's possible. But I played the main line, okay? And the last time he didn't know what he was doing, and he messed up. But never expect them to like fall for the same trick twice. By now he has to know. So he knew what he was doing this time. I always play knight takes b5. But objectively, I'm not sure which move is better. I think I've even played like a3. And I don't know how good it is. But it's a little tricky. Better than it looks. Bishop takes b5, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, queen a5 check, knight fd2, queen b5, knight d6. And now here, I'm reaching the end of my knowledge because I don't really play the Benoni, you know, not the proper Benoni. And unfortunately, I think my opponent had looked at the line. So queen a6. I don't know anything about these alternative moves. Velimirovich, Konstantin Sakayev, 1996. This line was just starting around 1996, 95. Just starting to get really theoretical. So that's interesting, but I knew this is the main line. He plays this, and then I didn't know that rook d8 is a move here. Not too many people play the Benoni on a high level. Knight d7 is the main line. And now castles, and then here I don't know which of these moves is better, knight b6 or knight e5. You know, so I just improvised and played whatever. I'm an out of control teenager. So it looks like knight e5 is better, but I didn't know that at the time. I like the correction of the pawns, you know, knight takes b6, a takes b6. But theory says that the knight, there's a Nordiebeck. I like saying Nordiebeck. Sounds better. Try agree, masturbate. Works in both hard and soft water. Knight b6. Okay, slight inaccuracy. This, by the way, was like the first major game for this variation. 96. No, c95. Okay. Yes, Gus Shirov. That's what I figured. Knight takes b6. And now, my point was to take back with a pawn. I assumed it was taking back with a pawn. And there's way more with queen takes. But see, the difference is that this is more forcing. This attacks his knight. So it may be that that's actually better. This, whether I have isolated pawns or connected pawns, doesn't matter that much. What I didn't realize is that you shouldn't screw around with the knight on d6. Because I'm just assuming he's going to take. And that's actually not the way this is supposed to be played. It can be played, and it's fine. White is like up a pawn, but the pawn is kind of weak. But what I didn't realize is that he can keep the knight on the board. And Chess Zebra said that my bishop was garbage. But I take issue with that, you know. Strangely, the move queen f3 is a theoretical novelty, which is really shocking. I mean, clearly this is very logical. Rook e1 is logical. Knight takes bishop is logical. Queen b3 is logical. But I mean, queen f3 is logical too. It attacks f7. It puts pressure on the f6 square, which can be useful with bishop g5, knight e4. It keeps the d5 pawn protected. The only thing it doesn't do is protect b2. I'm sitting there thinking like there's some way I could set him up for a mate, you know. So here I played probably a mistake. It looks like I should attack the knight right away with like b5. And I did think about that, but I played instead bishop d7 under the illusion that my bishops were somehow useful. Then he plays the best possible move, now rook e1, threatening rook here, among other things. And now I played b5, attacking the knight. And I'm not sure what I expected him to play here. I mean, white could play like bishop f4. I guess that move doesn't really do anything. So I think this is forced. And he's attacking c5 now. But not only. I have to watch for this. Not a threat yet, but it can become a threat very quickly. Something like d6 or bishop g5. So about this point, it started to dawn on me that I was in trouble. But I didn't know what to do. And I think I had thought about this concretely, like sacking a second pawn. Because his d pawn is relatively loose. I looked at bishop f5, and I looked at knight takes c5, and I was thinking, is there a way I could just trade maybe the d pawn for something, get that d pawn back, and be down one pawn, and I'd be okay. But I think this is my best chance, actually. I must have looked at something like this and concluded that this doesn't get played because of check. I think I basically gave up analyzing the variation around here, figuring that it was no good. But the computer says my best chance is this line, and queen d6. This is like my only chance. Knight e4, and now queen b4, or maybe queen e5, but that's insanely dangerous. Queen e5 or queen b4. So I'm 2 pawns down, but the bishop is useful. My bishops are just keeping me barely alive. But I didn't realize how desperate the situation was, so I tried to not play bishop f5 yet, hang on to my pawn, which is less than ideal. And now bishop f4. And I'm prepared to sack in exchange. I don't have any problem with that. But what I don't remember is why I didn't play bishop takes pawn here. Why? What was I afraid of about bishop takes? There are a lot of weaknesses on my king side. You know, so I was afraid. Rook e8? No, I mean, rook e8. I mean, there's these squares where the knight's going to attack the rooks. Yeah, but I guess that can be played. You could play rook e8. It doesn't really do anything. What I'm really trying to remember is like why I was afraid to take this pawn on b2. d6. Okay. So maybe that's what it was. To be honest, when I went rook c8, he plays this. Yeah, I guess your answer, my question. I was afraid of this. Something like this. When I don't think I'm interested, normally I'm not, you know, but it's possible he could sacrifice that exchange for a strong attack. So I played this, and then I allowed knight d6, but this is really bad. I didn't sense how bad it was. I thought I could allow my king side to be opened up, and my queen. I thought my queen could maybe come over to g6. I didn't think it was that bad, but it looks like I'm in big trouble because my king is not safe, and my king side structure is opened up. Here I was right. This was really strong now. I think it's really, really, really deadly. It's like +3, +3.5, but he didn't find it. He plays rook b1. I go back, and I'm losing. He finds d6. So it's this pawn plus, you know, attacking chances against my king. I figured I could play king h8 and blockade the pawn, and I have a pawn majority. But I guess rook d8. Here I couldn't find a good move. So you see now the clock is like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. I think I spent a long time on this move. Well, okay. Only 30 seconds, but I couldn't find any other move. Like, how can I, like, blockade this pawn? Queen c6. He could just avoid the exchange of queens with queen g3 and threaten to play bishop h6. But I was also concerned about the pawn being unstoppable. It's probably unstoppable. I'll have to give up at least the bishop for it. So this is like desperation. Very awkward blockading. Queen g3, king h8. And now I still had a glimmer of hope that I'm not down material. Maybe I can even sack an exchange. But he plays rook e3, and I blundered really badly here. Maybe the next move. Rook e3, c4, and then here. And I just don't know what I can do. It's equal material. The thing was, I just wasn't sure exactly what he's threatening. Nothing like immediate, but he can go like slow motion. Queen g5, rook g3, right? He's building a bridge to checkmate me. Now that all four of his pieces are coordinated. It turns out rook e3 is good. I don't think it's the engine's move. White had better. But I suspected it's not bad. I suspect that white's winning with any like decent move here. The computer prefers that I grab this pawn. I should have taken the pawn. It is an inaccuracy, I guess. He has better. But the funny thing is what happened next. I played c3. This move is so stupid, you know. The pawn is now separated from the rest of the pack, and he just simply plays bishop e5. And if I play rook g8, I get checkmated, right? Takes, takes, check. That's kind of awkward. So I have to play, yeah, objectively, maybe I should have taken on e5. I didn't really think about this. Objectively, I should have taken on e5. Bishop e5, queen e5 check, f6. Yeah, why didn't I do this? Bishop takes e5, rook takes f5. He's not going to do that. Yeah, why didn't I play bishop takes e5? I sort of panicked here. Bishop e5, queen e5 check, f6. And I don't know, if he takes this pawn and I get d6, I can survive. So let's see. Yeah. This is key. He should take on f5. He's starting rook e7, which is deadly. He would find it. This even stops the pawn. So that's winning. So I had to play f6. Bishop takes e3. And then I missed that, and this is really bad, but it's like seeing an oasis in the desert. At this point, I'm just playing hoping that I could survive, but I guess I could play rook takes. But anyway, so I lose the exchange. I'm lost. Take, take, here, 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 here. That's not necessary. Here, here. Takes, 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 and now white misses the obvious win. He's still completely winning in all of this endgame, but he doesn't see rook a5. It would allow me to push the pawn. I don't know if he saw it or not, honestly. He would allow me to push the pawn, but he could take on f5, and my pawn's not going anywhere because of rook b5. So white's just up the exchange and winning. But he plays this, which isn't as good. I can play b4. Now I'm still lost. But he actually finds a way to lose with white. Apparently, I'm still losing. I'm still worse. Until almost the very end, he finds the only conceivable way to lose. It's still a draw. Look at this position. I'm down the exchange, but it's still a draw. Unbelievably, rook g8, bishop g3. I thought I'm winning here, and the engine said it's still a draw. Even after rook g6. I almost can't believe it. Rook g6 is totally unnecessary. F4. And now only rook takes f6 is a draw. It's amazing that white can draw this. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, guys. Got major allergy. Oh, major allergies. Right to ragweed. It's not enough. It's 100 degrees. We have like the worst allergies in the world. Dying. All right. King takes g2. Let's see how we lose this. Rook g6, f4, and then rook takes f6. It's a draw. Hello? All right. Sorry, guys. There was a sudden, like, ragweed cloud that came into my office. Hay fever. Why is this a draw? Rook takes f6, king takes g2, rook a6. This requires, like, perfect technique. So check this out. King f3, king c4, king g2, king d3, king h3, king e4. Black cannot win. Wow. He's able to sort of blockade on the light squares. It's not easy to see that. So he played the move order wrong. Now I'm winning because the outside pawn is so fast. That was really lucky. I mean, I should have lost and not even gotten a draw, let alone win, you know? All right. Onward and upward, everybody. I'm sorry I can't read every comment and go through every suggestion. We'll be here forever. So I'm just picking and choosing among the viewer comments. The power of the new. Does anybody? Who's power of the new? Anybody want to like lay claim to this account? I don't know who this is. I'm gonna just go through this very quickly. We have a lot of games tonight. It's another Nimzo. I thought the power of the new would be like a Smurf account. They're playing the classical Nimzo. Not that many people here on my stream play the white side of the classical Nimzo. Black played d5, not my favorite. And now c takes d5. It's very similar to Rogozin. Of course, the knight's not on f3 yet. It transposes after this, I guess. Like you're playing queen c2 in the Rogozin. I mean, the line is very blurred between the Rogozin and the classical Nimzo. Castles, bishop g5. And so here, it's a queen's gambit. It's a Nimzo. It's a Rogozin. I don't know what it is. c6. Well, yeah, no, queen b3 is more common than a Rogozin. Less common in the Nimzo. But I think like with c6 type of moves, you don't really want to combine bishop b4 and c6 for the most part. So this is unusual. e3. And then a really strange move, bishop g4. So we're almost completely out of book. This is interesting. Kushtar Shandor versus White Albert. I think I actually played in that tournament. Might have been one of my best. April 2004, I moved here, played in Aeroflot, my last time in Russia. And I think Aeroflot was first in like March. And then maybe that was my first GM tournament in 2004. I had a very good result in one of these tournaments where one of my better results, plus a few. So Kushtar Shandar playing white. Yeah, bishop g4 is a very strange move. You're just giving 95. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Okay, Shandor played bishop d3. This is also not a bad move. He certainly doesn't mind bishop takes f3. Can castle queenside. Anyway, Polina Shuvalova. This is a good queen's gambit for white. Now, and the power of the new played exactly like whoever this is. It's a Russian woman player rated 2460 or something. Maybe not Russian, but like Kazakh or something. Sadu Kosova. H4. Yeah, white has a very strong position. This is really strange, though. You know, his opponent plays exactly the same move that Shuvalova played in 2007, but white has a new move, H5. Oh, no. She played H5. Well, you don't get H4. I mean, you're just attacking. Just gonna cast long and smart chopper black's kingside with the Ginsu bishops. I'm trying to understand how H5 works. Yeah, I guess it's just a positional pawn sacrifice, and then white castles queenside, or even plays king e2 and it doubles the rooks on the h file. She played knight takes h5. Yeah, and white just castled. The h file is crushing. It looks like no sacrifice is necessary here. Black played really badly, but g4. Still looks good. I guess here we're looking at a concrete pawn sacrifice. Although maybe knight takes g4 h5 is really strong too. Maybe this is just as strong, you know, g4. Oh, this is like watching it looks like a correspondence game between computers. I hope that rook doesn't get over. It feels like white kind of messed this up, you know, creating too many pieces. Creating the white square bishop is unfortunate. You know, we don't really want to do that. But I think at the end of the day, we see like this Sada Kosova's variation is better. It draws the knight out to h5, so it has nowhere near like as good. He has nowhere near as good control of e4. Well, honestly, like checkmate, in this type of position, I think you have two choices. You know, you can play quietly or play for mate. You know, but we can't really screw around, and it's all about where we put the king. If we play queenside castles, then we're playing for mate. If we castle kingside, we have a slight advantage. But I agree with her play. You know, if you castle here, I'm a little concerned that black could maybe get some play on the dark squares against h2. I don't know. g4 may have been a little risky, and so ultimately, like losing control of e4, it looks like white is not not necessarily winning. But this may be a critical moment here. Black must act quickly too. Okay, black goes for the big knight. But I'm thinking rook lateral. Look at this position. The computer either plays queen a6, which is a really weird move, or c5. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would play c5. I don't understand queen a6. It's not a move that would even, like, enter my mind. Even his move, knight b6, makes some sense. But then when you see, like, bishop c1, just shutting everything down, if the knight goes to a4, maybe that's a better chance. But I like this rook coming along. It's kind of Pillsbury, Lasker Pillsbury. So knight b6 here, queen e7. And now, you better find Jose Raul and blockade with f5, because if not, this looks bad. This looks really bad, dude. Bafin and Capablanca. f4, f5. f4, f5 is, it's game over, you know? If you can't play f5, you're dead. And even if you play f5, you may be dead anyway. I mean, maybe black should play f5 himself, or take anything, you know, take and play f5. We need something quick, or it's too late. But now it's over. f4, f5 is over. I guess if you play f4, black has time to play c5. I still suspect that black is lost. It should be enough, you know, like check, okay, whatever. Here, pawn takes pawn. There's no way that black is surviving here. +4 with f6. So white plays instead queen g2, here, here. And that's a little risky, because now you're giving black, like, I guess, g6. Still winning. Oh my god. White. Well, both sides in time pressure. White lets it go. Saxon exchange. Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, you rushed it. You rushed it. You got it in the bag, man. You got it in the bag. Just need to be steady. You know, f4 is more secure. This was the wrong idea. Now black has f5 though. So I guess you should play f4. Black plays f5. You take it with the queen. It's a wave. There's no stopping it. It's a tidal wave. He ended up getting lucky, sacking the exchange and staying alive. And suddenly it's not even clear if white is winning. I think he can't play king g8, but he can run away. Oh no. Oh no. I was expecting rook here and thinking like black can run away. Oh no, there's another check there too. Wow, he's not getting away. All right, interesting game. Anyway, I don't know what the deal is with them. Queen d3. He didn't have to take on f6. No, I mean, black got chances there he shouldn't have had. All right, guys. Sun Prism is playing against the London. Master Canty keeps dropping like videos in my in my Discord about the London and oh my god, the Jabava. These people gotta stop, man. You gotta stop with the bandwagon. Everybody knows how to play against the London, man. I mean, Jesus Christ. The Jabava and the London have been trending for like 7 years, dude. If you don't know how to play against the London or the Jabava by now, I mean, when are you going to learn how to play against it? Like, this stuff has been trendy for literally since like 2016. I'm talking about like when I started playing on lichess. The London has been trending since that. It's like it's stale, and you need to like stop playing it. Anyway, bishop f4. I don't play this move order for black, but if I did, I mean, I try to stay away from what is like the main line, main line. Already for black, already better for black. I don't know. I mean, you're exaggerating a little. I like to play, anti setups like d6 and whatever, but white is using the old school move order here. And this is tricky. Galiash did this against me because if players know how to play the London and something else, they can play with you. Like I was afraid to play e6 against Galiash because he would like do the London. So that's why I played g6, but he tricked me into playing the King's Indian, and then he goes like c4 against me. So if you have an opponent who can play both real openings and the London, okay, then it becomes a little bit more tricky. If they're like a one-trick pony and they only play the London, then they're not dangerous at all. But I find Rubinstein type players who are capable of playing real openings as well and throwing in the occasional London, well, that makes the move order like kind of annoying, to decide on. But bishop f4, yeah, I mean, I guess I like g6, and you probably get a lot of Yabavas here. But if they try to do the Yabava, you can play c6 or even a6. These are both interesting. You don't have to play robotically with bishop g7. I like that, and obviously c5. It's a main move. e6 is okay. You played e6. He plays knight on bd2, and then you played bishop d6. This turns out I don't really know this move order, but I always kind of hate this move because you're trading your good bishop for the enemy bad bishop. It feels kind of shouldn't necessarily be black's best move. If you look at the statistics, there's less games, but something to be said for bishop e7. Why do we have to trade our good bishop for your bad bishop? It's an active bad bishop. c5, clearly it's a move. Also, I think if you play bishop e7, you can set up b6 and bishop b7. b6, bishop b7 for black might be fine. So I'm not necessarily inclined to play bishop d6, but it's fine. And then white goes here. And that's a new move. Well, I think the thing is, like, most people, they look at the position, they say, wow, that bishop's really aggressive and active. But the problem is it's a bad bishop, and it can also get trapped outside the pawn structure. So knight h5 is such a key idea. Chess zebra. Yeah, well, c5 and then bishop d6 is like old school. c5, this is going like straight down the main line, the Magnus Carlsen sort of main line. if you play e6, you get like uber main line here. This is Rubinstein 100 years ago. Rubinstein played this for both colors 100 years ago. More than 100, 110 years ago. You know, the greatest player who ever played the London system, probably. But what makes Rubinstein truly great is that he only played the London on occasion. It wasn't like his main opening. But anyway, we have bishop d6, knight e5, and now you played knight h5, which makes sense. And that may be a reason why no one does knight e5. So white can play e3. That looks like a sensible decision. E3. G3 gets the bishop a little weird after G5. I would imagine G3 isn't so clear. You know, I mean, do we really want to do this? Like G3, G5? Do you really want to do this? Do you really want to do this? I don't know. You could just take the bishop and then play, you know, F6, knight D3. It's a position. All right, let's see what he does. This is more normal. And plus he's hitting the knight. So you have two options. You have to consider the options. Whenever you play knight h4 or knight h5 in a Slav type position, we don't necessarily want to be in a hurry. The knight could come back. I'm just trying to keep an open mind here. This is probably too slow, but just saying. It's something to think about, at least. So this is the line Delchev recommends. The line. Jesse, bro, you know, you're not one of those chess players so that comes up to me at the tournament and they're like, and my bishop was on d6 and then knight h5 and then he put his rook on b1, and you know, you need to be like exactly sure. So how far are we saying? You're saying like d5, bishop d6, Delchev recommends this? Don't trust people who write chess books. It's as good as anything, you know what I mean? But they just recommend stuff. It doesn't mean it's the best stuff. 95. This is interesting. Knight h5. Okay, e3 takes. But I mean, you know, Mr. Friend here. Yeah, well, the c5 queen b6 stuff is a common theme too, but you always have to be careful with queen b6 because it's sharp and it can backfire. You know, it's not the safest type of line. This is interesting. Okay, c5. So f6, queen h5 check, and we're having fun. So c5, and now white has to decide to take or play c3. He could play c3, but he has a really shitty pawn structure. But I think it should be considered. Also, there's like bishop check. So takes. Yeah, it looks like something Dlugi would play with white. It's a French. Honestly, like white seems okay here to me. This isn't so bad. We're still kind of behind in development. And castling, we can't play f6. Castling allows queen h5, so we need to challenge this knight now. Good. And now white castles. But after that, white has nothing. Learning chess. But this is it, man. After castle, white has nothing, I would say. less than nothing. There's nothing, and then there's less than nothing. So, all right, maybe I'm not being fair. Let's see. You didn't take. I think you should take. You're a French defense player anyway, and that's part of the whole reasoning for playing this type of setup. It's very hard for me to believe that black is worse here. The more pieces you trade, the better. You have the bishop pair in the long run. I'm gonna click on the analysis, engine and say I bet that black is not worse. God, I'm good today. I had an earlier one. I had an earlier guess where Mr. Slow was like, "You want to wager on the analysis?" And I said, +4. It was exact. I got it to be exactly +1. I'm putting my finger on the scale. Black is not worse. That's all I'm saying. If I have to choose, I'd rather be black. Personally, kind of biased toward two bishops, but I admit it's not so easy. But Queen F6 is. It's a cagey move. You're asking for complications. So here he has the bishop thing again. Jeroen for my stream would probably go bishop b5 anyway. You wouldn't have to talk him into it. There was this guy I played a blitz session with. Oh my god, this Tamashi, this 2200 Hungarian guy. He was crazy. He was every single game he would get like 2 knights against 2 bishops. He could force it in every position. And it started to make me crazy. Like he adapted his whole blitz strategy toward always playing every single game 2 knights against 2 bishops. A cheesy noob or something. This isn't so simple, I think. Actually, what are you playing on that? Like a6? You're probably going to have to play a6 now. And I really don't know. I don't have a clue what's going on here. I kind of like white. Your queen is jammed in on f6. Protects the pawn. I'm really not sure. So I don't know. It's inventive, but I would simply take the knight, take c5. I mean, I think you probably have other moves as well. But this is weak. Knight takes c6 is weak. I mean, he's caving. It's not just weak, it's like virtually losing, right? He's caving, he's giving up his knight on e5 when he didn't have to necessarily. And now both these pawns are hanging. He's not caving, but he's a caveman. He's not even a caveman. a6 g5. Interesting. Well, I think you got to be creative at that point. When you play queen f6, bishop b5. I was looking at this. I'm having flashbacks to very bad Trumpowskis against certain Vietnamese players. Like, I don't want any part in this. Yeah, bishop b5. Anyways. Yeah, okay, so let's see what happens. He just drops a pawn. And then you're just winning. It's just a matter of technique, as they say. And a5 is not forced. Here, you might want to consider not playing c5 Because if we think of it as a queen's gambit, f6, you know, playing for e5. I think it's winning for black. c5 may be good too, but he has this square. Okay, you can take it. But he also can stick his bishop on b5. So I think, like, you know, yeah, you're probably still winning, but at least his bishop is secure. You know, this is not, like, I think, like, after f6, there's very little that white can do. If you play rook b3, you play queen c5. And white just doesn't have any real play. I mean, all he can really do, I'm not sure he can do anything, to be honest. What can white even do? You know, eventually, you play e5 when the time is right. Meanwhile, just white has no. I mean, maybe he could play knight h4. Probably this okay. This is something. Knight h4. Masturbate would find it. That looks a little annoying. e5. Maybe it's like too slow for white. I like that your c pawn is here. It's guarding the center and it's guarding b5. This looks too slow. But he has it. Damn. Queen h5, I thought you had e4. Oh my god. Wow. And he has bishop takes c4 because your queen is pinned. Oh no. Wow. Wow. Here. Knight h4. You have to play g6. And then I was afraid of queen g4. But you have e5 there. So if you have to handle it really carefully. But if you're very careful, you're winning. I think this is an inaccuracy. Still, it's not bad. You're not in any danger. Whatever. You weren't in any danger, and I think that your way is okay too. This obviously doesn't work. You're just completely winning after queen g6. You're forced an exchange of queens. That's the priority. Oops. You have g5 here. Ironically. But okay. It's all good. That is a little awkward. I could see my throwing my computer out the window after I lose this position kind of thing. Yeah. All right. Anyway, that was one of Sun Prism's Blitz adventures. Next is Error 4 Not Sound. No, this is Astrobate's game. Okay. I don't know. Move 11 got lost somewhere on the way to work. He was like, "Hey, you have time for another game?" and then just left. Interesting. Guys, don't forget, donate, support the stream, support our efforts to go to the World Senior Championship in Portugal in November, if you can afford it. If you're a poor German chess player, don't forget to donate $5. What did I do? All right, here. Thank you, Era 404. So Era 404 Not Sound. As a reward, he didn't submit a game for today either. As a reward for donating $5, we're going to analyze your game against Acerbate. All right, here to Acerbate with white, knight f3, c5, b3. b3 is very appropriate against c5. Now black plays d6, build a wall. Donald Trump sanctioned. You should be able to use your prime sub. You just have to, I think you just have to kind of look around. They usually make it hard. They make it hard to find the button to click. No. Gift subs don't count. It's totally on Twitch. The only thing that counts is the Panda icon. The donations to Streamlabs. You know how to do it, but it's not there. That's weird. I know that like September is September. You never know. Like maybe like they took away like subscribing with gift subs. I mean, with Prime subs. That's weird. I think there's an option in Amazon you have to enable. I used my gift sub recently. I thought last month, but that was last month. Was it last month? Maybe it was a while ago. Maybe it was last month. I guess I didn't use my gift sub this month. My prime sub. I keep saying gift sub. So c4, and now black. Okay, the c4 is a good move. Acerbate against bishop b2, e5 is best. He plays knight f6. You play knight c3. Plays e6. Yeah, and e6 is kind of solid, but I would think that black ought to seriously consider playing g6, counter fianchetto. He wanted to prime before, after he gifted one to me. I just couldn't. After the first click, it prompts if you want to use your prime or not. I think they always mess around and change stuff, which can be annoying. e3, knight c6, a3. So this is Acerbate's fetish. That's what we'll call it, Acerbate's fetish. Fetish opening. a3, very early, but I've always been something of a believer in the hedgehog with a3. Here though, Acerbate, I mean, he's not really threatening knight b4. It's a little early. This was 2 days ago, right? I remember. No, Chess Ebro's right. He literally did a gift sub 2 days ago. So that's true. It should work. Bishop b2, a6, and now Acerbate, you played a good game against me the other day. But I like d4 here. It feels like you should take the initiative. Oh, man. All right. After a6, d4. I think that black should play pawn takes pawn and do d5. You did a similar thing against me where you played d5 in 2 moves. He could also go d5. Acerbate did something like that. Becomes semi-Tarash. Becomes a semi-Tarash. But black's setup isn't, hedgehog isn't necessarily appropriate. This is fancy, though, and weird. You're putting your bishop in front of the pawn on d3. And then black probably should call your bluff. Era 404 should be like, yeah. If you're not going to play d4, I am. I got to imagine you could try something funky. But he can recapture either way here with the knight or with the pawn. But otherwise, you're getting, you know, either, no, probably d4. So I think if white's going to mess around, Era4 should hit you in the middle. And I think his whole play with e66 was looking kind of slow. Castles, and now rook c1. This is the fetish. Bishop here. It's all like just rehearsed. It's not appropriate. Now e5. That's a mistake. Error 404 should play d5, not e5. And try to smack you in the middle. Or just chill, you know. You just play this and chill. And alternatively, you could not move a central pawn. Play something like rook e8, maybe bishop f8, b6, bishop b7. Continue to play in hedgehog style. But e5 is definitely a mistake on some level, I think. Because it gives white good play on the white squares. This 94 and this diagonal. So you play knight d5, but I would be surprised if this isn't as good an option. If you take f5, white can play bishop d5 check, and then Asterbate goes on a fishing expedition with the classic sort of h4, knight g5. Now your position makes sense. So he's helping white to make sense a little bit. So Discombobulator could play, as I said, rook e8, d5, b6. Yeah, it's a Sicilian. e5, and then knight d5. This might be good as well. I think that black should be very careful about how he plays this. He takes. That's fine, but it drives your knight away from the center. And you need to think about that before you play the move. Are you going to go to there? I would put my knight on b8. I don't see the knight having a lot of sort of ability to get back in the game from a7 or a5. So I think this is the natural Jula Breyer. Get the knight back quickly with knight b8. Knight a7 is much more awkward. Now bishop b1. And, well, okay, f5 looks like a good try. I still prefer the knight on b8. Can we undermine this diagonal? No g4. You could try h3 and g4. You want to look at knight d5 e4? Knight d5 e4. It doesn't. Oh no. You want to look at that? Get it all you want. It doesn't work. I just take here. I mean, I guess whether it works or not is all relative. But we take here, and then we take here, and then we take here. And then it's not clear you have adequate compensation for sideways pawn. But important to calculate that. Yeah. But f5, what about h3 with the idea of g4? Something to consider. This does look dangerous now. So I think Asterbate, maybe your first order of business here is to deal with e4. You should just play d3. Asterbate's paranoid of queen a5 always. So h4 creates possibility of knight to g5. But I mean, if you play this and you go here, I mean, are you going to have enough compensation for this pawn? I'm not sure. Maybe you need to play like knight g1 now. That knight on a7 didn't help black. At least on d7 it can come back to like f6. So f5, d3, maybe knight b5 with the idea of knight takes a3, or knight back to c7. And now what do? Knight d2 maybe, avoiding the check and getting out of the way of the pawns. And the game is unclear. I mean, get the knight back in the game. Knight c7, knight here, it's a game. Okay. f5, h4, dubious, and then f4. This is what I do a lot, which is like get too aggressive. Black should be focusing on improving the position, not attacking yet with a knight on a7 and rook on a8. So I think this is a mistake. It weakens this diagonal again. White could, at the minimum, play something like bishop e4. Lock it down, queen here. I like white. f4 dubious. And then Astrobate shouldn't do this. This is also dubious. I don't see why you would do that. Rook takes f4. Oh my god. Now I see why he did it, but I still don't think I agree with it. You kind of like f4. Well, I like black's position. He has lots of flexibility. It's not clear that white's threatening anything. And I think after f4, bishop e4, it's like white might be better. So I think these pawns are fluid. And if white's not threatening anything, I think that black should focus on slowly improving his position. He has a problem on the queen side. And I'm not certain that white's threatening anything. I want to know white is threatening something. What is it? What is white threatening here? If the opponent's not threatening anything, I don't think that white's threatening anything. So, but this move, boom. This is fancy pants chess. Fancy schmancy. But at the end of the day, I mean, if black loses, it's because of those pieces that didn't move on the queen side. Takes, and then a real shocker. I thought we were gonna see queen h5, and then I guess he realized that guy's e4. So he takes here first. The rook goes back, and then white plays queen h5. Oh no. And this is L again. Bishop takes e6. So he can't recapture because of queen h8 mate. So he sacks the rook. Oh no, rook g1. That's not good. I'm hallucinating the g files of them. But you do have rook c3. You came in. So what happens if you play rook c3 immediately? With the idea of this, pawn takes bishop, rook here, black has this. It's too slow. You can't just lose the bishop. So check, queen takes. You trade queens and it's not clear what's going on. So here, and now you tie him down to g7. You tied him down to g7 and you're threatening rook c3 and rook c4 and rook h3. So the good old knight coming to b5. We do have h5, so if bishop g6, it may not be enough. And that's the point. Rook f8. Rook f8. I love this. If black plays rook f8, white can... No, castles drops the h pawn. So we'll have to play, like, give up the f pawn. We can give up the f pawn. No big deal. Unbelievable. Bishop f8, queen g5, rook e8. Takes. Queen takes. Queen takes. H takes. Check. King f7. And so we're up the exchange. And you have f4. This is also good. And now black's almost in a mating net. Look at that knight. Oh my god, the poor knight. The poor knight. Story of the game. Never put your knight on a7 in the opening. Ugh. Good game though, Asterbait. Pretty consistently played. Nice. All right, everybody, we got a few games left. I have no idea what time it is. It is 9:30. Okay, it's dropped down to 35 degrees Celsius here. Snedsteg, Mule Skinner, and Checkmate 944. So Snedsteg is black. We haven't seen Snedsteg in a while. Are you here, Snedsteg? Are you with us or against us? Sorry guys, my brain is fried from high temperatures. I'm trying to navigate game analysis, but it's hard to concentrate when it's so hot all the time. I can speed through this quickly. Okay, you're here. So Lasker, where's my water? Okay. Sensei plays the modern. Yeah, obviously you have your sniper hyper accelerated dragon option here. D6 is like mainline modern. But then white plays kind of an unusual move, bishop e3. I remember seeing this old Osmai Parashvili game where he played, like he played knight c6 here. You could transpose to a kind of Nimzovich. I guess it's something special though. Not really a typical move. So bishop e3. I just don't know what to do. You just play knight f6, I guess. Because knight f6 is a Pierce. Alright. Yeah, if knight f6 is a Pierce and you play knight c3, then we're playing a 150 attack. White is playing the 150 attack. Okay. I should know better as a Kraken exponent. I don't like c6. It's a move. And I don't like bishop g4. Knight c6 is interesting. Remember, white can play c4 and transpose to a king's Indian. Here. c5. What is c5? c5, I think we'll see c3. c5 is definitely a move. There's a couple games in knight c3. That could transpose to a dragon, but c3 is another possibility. Dan Cramling. He's hanging out with a rating around mine. The sister of Pia. Sister. Yep, that's a lot of heat. You know you've had too much heat when you're talking about Dan is someone's sister. So, alright. Yeah, c5 is possible, but I like... If I'm not going to play if I'm not going to play knight f6, then, you know, the a6, the problem is that white hasn't played knight c3 yet. And then c4, you could play like a king's idea with c6 or something like that. All right, knight d7, this is fine. And honestly, I think, you know, you're looking at modern defenses with e5. So I'm expecting c4 or knight c3. But white instead plays a strange move, bishop d3. Battaglini versus Luke McShane. Well, now knight like c5 might be the same thing. Again, we're looking at c3. Knight f6. McShane played knight f6. a6 is okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. a6 is okay. e5 is okay. Knight f6 is okay. Castles. Black is okay. You're kind of going into Pierce territory, but I'm worried about e5. Can we should be we worried, as Yoda would say. Should be we worried? You know, you don't have to take. You could play, for example, knight d5 here, like an Alekhine. But I guess if you take, white will have to watch long diagonal. But my concern is, you know, e6. Smashing our structure, you know, so what's happening there? It's a mess. You know, this is a mess. I don't have any idea what's going on there. So castles, he's committed to kingside. If you play e5, I think white will play knight c3, and after knight e6 will transpose to some kind of like 150 attack. Knight g4 is something that'll happen sometimes. So you play knight f6, he's concerned about this. I'm not sure it's a threat. So like white doesn't have to play h3 here. But it is useful in the instance of e5. So he plays h3, and now you still have knight d5, so that's fine. Castles, knight on b2, and this is a really kind of lame setup. I mean, he's got, you know, really 7 pieces in a 3x3 square. I mean, you're hitting a lot here too. You're a little congested yourself, but you are black. So e5, white tries to keep the tension. This is probably right. And so now the question is, what should we do? Rook e8 is normal, but it doesn't support f5. Knight h5. I don't know if we should play that when there's tension in the center. And then you can always do b6, bishop b7, Mamedyarov style. So c3, rook e8. You transpose to a game from 1995. And a4, maybe rook e1. That's unbelievable. I don't believe it. I honestly don't believe it. Yeah, it looks like a Rillepez a little bit. What are the chances that your opponent played the exact same move as Marcin Kaminsky in 1995? I was expecting white to play either a4 or like rook e1, which is pretty constructive. The chances of queen c2 being the move played is so small. And now you played, yeah, you played h6. And Urban's move is okay. And obviously b6 is okay. To go here is a normal plan. But h6 is fine too. I think queen c2 is kind of lame. You know, it goes along with the other lame moves, but he might turn out to not be so lame. But this is a risky move. Oh. So the other guy played b6. You could play h6 though. I kind of like h6. It's a solid sort of waiting move. Waiting around to die. But you gave up your center. Okay. What's your plan here? I don't like this. So I think you need to do like Benoni style with c5 if you're going to do this. d5. But somebody mentioned Roy Lopez, and I think they're on the right track, you know. Feels very Roy Lopez-like. Yes, there is this. It does look unpleasant dealing with that pawn there. But I mean, I'm not going to take on d4 unless I have a really good reason to do so. You took on d4, you took on d4, and then you played b6. But this looks frightening. I mean, I'm scared here. So the immediate invasion, maybe not that effective. Yeah, but now my problem is this. I just need to know how we're protecting d6. All right, so knight c4. A need to know basis. Yeah, it's too late. Knight c4 is a good move. White played too routinely here by playing d5. It gives you time to do what you need to do and turn it into a Benoni. He needs to do this now, or like the computer was like bishop f4, but whatever. Something immediately asking questions about d6. So this move is too slow. He's basically playing a Benoni with his queen on c2, knight on d2. It's more like, yeah, more like a Roy Lopez. Now I expect b5. I really don't know why you didn't play b5. b5 looks like a great move. You played knight h5, but I think stopping knight c4 is a priority here. He can play like a4, but it doesn't do anything. You can just guard it. You don't have to crack your structure. Rook b8, queen b6. Maybe white has that. Okay, I don't like that. Not queen b6 then. But let's just say rook b8. He could try. He could try something like this. It's a game, right? But I like b5. So can you play without b5? That's the question. So you play d5, knight h5. This is my problem, though. You know, knight h5 doesn't stop knight c4. I guess knight c4 is not a big deal anymore. Not as big a deal anymore. Because the center is closed. Knight h5 is a provocative move. White could play g4. We just have to go back. This isn't as good now. But someone learning chess there mentioned queen c7. Now that's the people under the stairs type of move. Whenever you play this type of space advantage position, Benoni, Kings, Indian, these are the people under the stairs. And they have a hard time, you know, getting up out from under the stairs, you know. So they're good fodder for a Wes Craven horror movie. I'd really rather not put my queen on c7 if I had another option. It may very well be best to play bishop f8 here. But you do have issues like if bishop f8, g4, knight f8, bishop f4, you know, it may be like, oh, fuck. We have no choice now but to do queen c7. No, queen c7, look, it's not ideal, but it's necessary sometimes. It may be necessary. Wait a second. After knight h5, knight c4, why queen c7? Why not queen e7? Queen e7. b6 is protected. Queen e7. This is probably better. This is not so bad. Black played the game in a provocative way. The other thing is, if you play b5, he has knight a5 into c6. You have to watch that. I think queen e7 is best. You still have problems, though. Queen e7, g4. You're going to have to play combatively. I think we might even have to... You might even have to play like b5 and allow this. And allow that knight. You know, this is kind of a nightmare. You know, your queen has to Magnus Carlsenize on f8. Magnus loves his queen on f8. But, you know, you were Mr. Provocative with knight h5, honestly. But this is ugly. Jeremy Silman passed away. But he had an example in one of his books like this. The problem is you're going to get crackled on the queen side. So this structure, not ideal. You're like one step from total destruction. I mean, b4. This doesn't look good. I'm not certain this is necessarily that clear. Maybe you have something. But it's all hands on deck. I'm also not sure he took the right way. He has to consider taking the other way, keeping his knight as a kingside guardian. You know, maybe he should have taken the other way. Seriously, this protects the kingside. And then, okay, b4 isn't as clear now. Still dangerous, though. For example, b4 takes, queen c6, bishop d7, queen takes here. It is protected past pawn on d5. I think it's safe to say that white must be better. You should avoid the structure happening. This is not an ideal structure. He takes with the wrong knight, leaving you kingside chances. And that's what happened. a4, knight f4. But a4 is even slower than b4. And now, I mean, he should think about a5, but it's slow, right? a5, queen g5, bishop takes f4, pawn takes f4. Hello. We have very strong attacking chances now on the king side. He took with the wrong knight. This is an afterthought to defend itself with bishop f1. The knight is also kind of unstable on c4. It can be attacked at any moment with like b5. It blocks his pieces. It's a nice square, but it's not ideal either. Queen g5, yes. And now bishop takes f4, exactly. Pawn takes, uh-oh. And then white, You've been following our. No, Mr. Slow is still here, but someone's been watching the Velimirovich games. It looks like we have liftoff. Yeah. Anyway, it's a short game. There's no safe place for the White King. He needs to consider King H1, but I'm not sure. Actually, he needs to consider King F1, and running the coastal evacuation route is always a possibility. This position is great for Black now, though. He's in deep shit. So King H2, F3, very nice. G3, and then boom! Before White has a chance to play Bishop F1. That's really brutal. Yeah, nice knowing you, bud. No coastal evacuation route now. Well, you got to give him credit for Rook H1. Now that's a creative try. Check and mate. All right, guys. Last two games. Yeah, I can't accept any more games. Too hot, too tired. We're going to try to come back for some blitz tomorrow at noon. I've got Mule Skinner and Checkmate 944. So Mule Skinner is black. And let me guess. No, it's a Benoni. It's a Benko. Yeah, that was a nice game. Nice comeback. You were very provocative there. A little too provocative, Snedsig. Knight H5. All right. So Benko, D5, B5, C takes B5, and now A6. And then White plays, oh, my old favorite. No, so objectively, I guess the accepted has been accepted as the best, but let me just read Will Skinner's notes here. He said, "Hi, this is a game for Thursday analysis. It's 15 plus 15 lichess, but I think it was pretty good. Okay, 2 or 3 good lucky decisions. Anyway, not an OTB game. So A6, and he plays the Nescafé well. He plays the what's he called? The Zaitsev variation, which I played a million games. It's a little bit like kind of incorrect for White, I think. A takes B5 is the main line. You can also play, what else? Queen A5. And now, it's funny, I think that E4 is the standard main line, but this is actually not that bad. Possible to play knight takes B5. Oh, the guy did that. Wow. So it's well known that E4 is the main line. And then Black is supposed to play B4. I had 2 games with Gennady Sigalchik, who played Queen A5 against me. One I lost and one I won. But B4 is the main line. B4 knight B5 and then D6. Very dicey variation for White. But this, though, oddly, I think the computer likes this move. Strangely. Originally, who was it? No, I don't remember. There's some ancient game where White played this, like Tartakover, or I don't know. This was the original way that White played it, but then it went out of fashion. Knight takes B5. So I don't know what you're supposed to do. I never played this way with White. It was always considered to be like not as good as E4. But I think the computer will say it's slightly better for white. Yeah. So this is very interesting. Queen a5 is always bad. Not in this case. What is interesting here, you got a variation that's uncommon. And the knight e4 move may just be a transposition. But there's not a single game with that move. It's so amazing. An absolutely valid move, the vulture like knight e4, and no games ever. It's sort of obscure. Now, at this point, the computer is starting to think knight e4 is clearly black's best move. But my engine sucks. I mean, this is not a really powerful computer. Okay, queen a5 check, you know this. Knight c3. Now you're supposed to play knight e4. And black has a good score there. Helborg. That's a great name. One of the most cool chess playing names, Helborg. Knight e4. And black has kind of a good score here. But objectively, the computer thinks that white is fine. Queen c2. Knight takes c3. Now, if bishop d2, you have this a Dorian-like queen a4 idea. Here's a game. Here's some games. Henry Edward Tudor. Wow. That's recent. That's the most recent game I've seen. A July 2024 game in Opening Explorer. Wow. Queen takes c3. Not exactly cutting edge theory here. So you played instead bishop b7, which is the main move in the Opening Explorer. White played bishop d2. So you seem to know what you're doing. Queen b6, and then e4. e4, e6. They must have just added those. I just hadn't seen 2024 games at all. e6. Bishop c4. So you know your stuff. You're following some known line here. Knight e4, pawn e6. So it looks like de6 is unusual. This is like, is this a transposition to some other variation? It feels like it's a transposition to something else. It's weird. Knight c4, d takes e6. You can take with a d pawn. Safer to take with the d pawn. Barayev. Barayev did play the Benko, right, on occasion. But you took with the f pawn. So we're following a game in Italy from 2007, these old dudes. Italy veterans. F takes e6. Knight e4, bishop e4. Now queen h5 check, new move. What does queen h5 check do? I guess it makes you decide, make a decision between bishop g6 and g6. g6 is more natural. But lose your bishop and you got queen e5. Then if bishop takes g2, queen h8, bishop takes h1. I guess it would be an understatement to say this is a little complicated. I would have no idea what the evaluation is, and it's like 0 after bishop h6, queen d6. I wouldn't have even ventured a guess there. It's such an irrational position. But this is obviously safer. The problem is you abandon your active diagonal. So queen h5 is an interesting move. Queen e5 now. Yeah, I don't know about that. I guess he just wants to protect the b2. But it's a big, big tempo. So does white have an alternative to this move? Because it looks like then bishop g6 is good. I like black now. If white doesn't have a strong move here, he's in trouble. Ultimately. Boom. Now, I don't like the look of this. But Muleskinner just went with even more development now with bishop here. And a nice illustration of really how important control of the center is. Although he has knight f3, so maybe the move is a tad slow. What if you go immediately knight d4? Threatening knight c2 check. I mean, this looks really nasty. Because you have like d5 and c4, and you're just like unraveling now with everything. Rook c1, I mean d5. This just looks crushing to me. So it feels like maybe this is hesitant, but all right. You want a castle and sack. Yeah, but he's getting away. You know, he's kind of getting away. Sack on f3. If you castle, you could sack, of course. But his king is in a sort of safe place now, which I think we can go here first. This may be just better. This is really not a very constructive move for white. If he has to play that, and the other option is like the very awkward this, maybe he plays bishop d3. Okay. But now take, queen takes b2. I mean, we're threatening knight c2 check. Isn't white in trouble here? He's losing. So maybe Muleskinner hesitated. Okay. And this is okay, but trading isn't necessarily killing him. You're still very strong and very good control of the center. But after queen f3, what do? We can't castle. Well, we can castle if we play bishop f7, but that's another concession. This buys time, and probably white could play b3, castle himself. Do you want to take on b2? Queen takes a check, and then this. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what the computer says. White's winning. Alright, this is not fun. No, rook c8 was best. Close. But I would think b3. Now you're letting black potentially, like, prevent you from castling with queen a6. Even this looks a little bit dangerous, to be honest. I think that white should play b3 and then make sure he gets himself castled before it's too late. Although it may already be too late, right? You have here. It's possible that white is already still in trouble. But maybe he can manage somehow. But you have to strike fast before he's getting out of the center. Rook c8, bishop b3. So rook f8. Clearly not a bad move. Here. Now stop him from castling. Yeah, it looks like he's in deep shit now. Is bishop e4 enough? Because we have rook d1, rook d1, rook d1, bishop e2 check, rook d2, rook c1 check. Wow. Looks like we've got him. Exactly. So all four pieces are in the equation. The white king is still in the center, as is black's. Black's is safer. But most importantly, white's h1 rook didn't get into the game. So now it's combo time. Combo time! You played queen a5, preventing it from castling. Not a combo, but a good move. You're threatening rook takes f2. He has queen a3. It's really ugly. I mean, I would play it, I guess. Maybe white is paralyzed, though. Pretty close to paralyzed. Still, he's not completely paralyzed. Oh, you have queen e5 check. Ooh. That's cool. If you trade queens, you're still clearly better. Yeah, white is on the verge of collapse. Played a3. Still no combos. So you had rook takes f2. You chose not to play this. He has a move, huh? Oh man. Oh no. He has b4. Oh no. We have to have something here. We have to have something. I don't believe it. Rook takes d1 check. Well, at the very least, we could play that. Although, I'm really not sure it's enough. Yeah, we don't want to allow b4. Alright. So he went here. And that's now forcing b4. And now what? Queen e5 check? Oof. There's nothing that white can do. Nice game. Nice game, Yo Skinner. Very good. Alright, last game, checkmate 9 for 4. This is Mr. McFly playing black. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Sorry if anyone else tried to submit a game. I can't do more games. I'm starving. I'm dying of heat exhaustion, and that's it. But thank you for your support. I hope the games were instructive tonight. Thanks for the follow from Juju. Just followed. an hour ago, and I didn't mention it. But please join us tomorrow for some Blitz. Blitz challenges will start at 12 noon Friday, CEST, and simul on Sunday. All right, so we're white. This is checkmate 9 for 4. Yeah, I mentioned this a few times recently, but I had this idea to play Gambit style here with this 92 thing. But you gotta find a move after bishop b4. Don't do that. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, you can play like h3, bishop b4, and then gambit a pawn here. Bishop takes e4, a3. I mentioned this. Snedsteg would probably like it. All right, bishop d3. This is my normal preference. Yeah, black has a solid rating. Both sides have a solid rating. e6 and now c4. But c4 transposes to an English defense, and I think that upgrades black's opening. The Owen defense is not as good as the English defense, I think. And so you're upgrading, giving him a free upgrade. It's like your Qantas and you're handing out free first class upgrades because your software had a glitch or something. No, so the best is queen e2, in my opinion. But who's to say? Knight f3 is the main move. All right, so c4. It's an English defense. Now, I'm thinking, was it this position? Black has something with e5. Check. Check. Bishop d2. Bishop takes d2, check. There's something with e5, dude. I haven't looked at this before, but someone told me about it. Well, let's see. I guess it's against queen takes. No? Different position. I keep thinking there was someone who mentioned e5, but it's not working here. Bishop b4 check. Bishop d2. This is also a line, by the way. I think I played this move. It was a different position too. I'm getting confused. Okay, bishop d2, queen e7. Hikaru Nakamura. Queen e7 is not adequate. Bishop takes d2, check. Knight takes d2. Queen takes d2. Knight takes d2. There's no e5. No, I know what I'm talking about. No, I was trying to remember a conversation I had after a few beers recently, and it is a little hazy. E5 is a novelty here, huh? May not be so bad. But I don't know if that's going to work after queen takes. I don't think this works. You can do it after knight takes. White just pushes there with a space advantage. All right, anyway, I don't know. So this was not the game anyway. After c4, black plays a bad move. We enter like Alekhine simul variation. No, F5 is always been my preference. F5 is the most dynamic, and there's also knight c6. So I played both. I played this, and I've played this. E takes F5. No, I'm thinking of a different position. Yeah, not here. My bad. Bishop e4 check. King f1. Knight f6. c5. Yeah, this is actually interesting. The knight f6 is just not a move, really. What is that? Can't believe that black can do that. Kovalenko played it twice. Bortnik, Brandisniga, Rosenthalis. This is very offbeat. I can't believe it. Wow. You can play knight f6 here for black. Crazy. And knight c3, bishop e4, and now the stats don't look good. And now we're like at Alekhine simul variation. F3, unnecessary. Queen c2. So this is interesting. Yeah, I tend to remember Alekhine playing this. Because this can happen with the Nimzo, right? Like a bad Nimzo. It's a b6 classical Nimzo. So we can play b4, knight f6, which I've played before. I've gotten this position by accident when I messed up the move order. Should b4, queen c2, b6. And then on e4, I forget what I was doing and played bishop b7 by accident. And then my opponent plays bishop b3. I'm like, shit, what am I doing? This is bad for white. Sorry, bad for black. Yeah, all right. Now f3 is a different story. I'm not sure about f3. I like queen c2. Oh, and it reminds me, this? What about this? Even this might be good. Because knight c6 is nothing. You can just play like knight f3. There's obviously no issue there. e5, that's nothing. But I mean, the whole variation should be bad for black. I'm not sure about f3. Maybe it's good as well. Alexander lost against Kovalenko, but Kovalenko is just extremely strong player who's very tricky and fast. As I came to find out, c5. Alexander was going to like transpose to a f3 Nimzo or something with a3. You would think this would be a transposition. But black even played bishop a5. Wow, that's extremely provocative. So d5, and now what is this? It's like it's a weird f3 Nimzo. Should be good for white. So what happened to the... So Kovalenko didn't play that. Somebody played knight c6. You might want to have a look at this. I'm gonna say though, honestly, I think f3 is suspect. It's not bad, but it looks like it gives black more chances. But what's happening like on queen c2, knight c6? This is like advantage is much larger here for white. I'm gonna stick with queen c2. See, the problem with queen e2, taking away the knight square on e2, queen c2 doesn't. So f3, it looks like Kovalenko figured it out. You know, this is actually the best try. You're kind of close to transposing to a hyper-accelerated Queen's Indian here as well, type of thing. Yeah, it looks like knight c6 is black's only really good option. I mean, he can take and try to play this crap. Sipidov. It's tennis and chess pro. No. Different Sipidov. Alright, so c5. This is good for white. SWAT beating random Austrian guy. And black played queen e7 now. Black's in trouble no matter what. This is the pawn structure from hell. That's the pawn chain from hell. And if you can't break it, you die. You know? There's like, you're locked behind the fence with all these zombies. You either cut the fence or you die. There's nothing that black can do. I mean, the only break is f5. If you don't get an f5 somehow, which is very difficult to do with a knight on f6, you know, I suppose. He played queen e7. Yeah. Well, actually, you're really close to transposing to one of these other lines with b6 that I've played. But this is an interesting position. I think that b takes c deserves consideration. I mean, ultimately, like, your knight might be good here too, because you may like just checkmate him on the king side with a giant pawn push. This might be useful. Either way, white has clear advantage. You know, and now, I mean, the only thing you could do wrong is really blow up your position too early, cash in too early. This is really close. Your advantage is huge here. You must be like plus 2.5. No, I'm guessing too high now. I must be getting tired. That can only go up, though, I would think. The longer I let it run. Yep, it's growing. 2.5? Can I get 2 at least? Can I get to 2? Can we at least get 2? No, it went down. What? 1.9. Give me 2. A little too optimistic. Yeah, black's in deep shit here. So move your queen, rook AE1. Uh-huh. And then you stopped knight G4. And then black has B5. Right. So now, black is absolutely completely lost. I don't see a reason to not take on b5. I don't imagine that's going to be a negative, at this point. You should take on b5 first and then decide what to do. Looks like you have a lot of options. I mean, it's even possible some kind of weird blockading plan could be good. Like knight a2, knight b4. Ominous monkey. But I would look for an immediate, like, violent attack. See if it's there. You can also go the other way. Transfer to kingside. At some point, black's going to have to do something desperate, like sack a pawn, I think. Because otherwise he's going to get blown away. So from my perspective, this bishop e3 is a little weird. You're leaving the a pawn just there, and who knows what's happening after b4. b4 is going to get kind of messy. So it's very messy now. But I still think that white is clearly better. See, there's no reason to lose the a pawn. I think you're still winning, though. I mean, basically, you left the position get very unclear unnecessarily, You forget to take on b5. I mean, it's one thing if, like, black's rook's on the a file, but black's rook was on c8 anyway, so it's not like he's invading down the a file if you take on b5. I think that white still has tremendous position. Maybe f5 here. When black might have to play f6, and then we play knight f4, knight e6. Instead, you played queen h5, feigning the sort of e5 stuff, and wow, this isn't easy for black either. Notice how that knight came back around to g3. I was thinking early on, that's where the puppy belonged. I mean, it's such a strong f3 Nimzo type situation here. G6 is he's got to play g6. I mean, what else is he going to do? All right, so g6. And now black has to try to hold the line somehow. Can black possibly defend this? All hell is breaking loose. I mean, knight f6, maybe? Then you're playing what? You played knight g7. It makes sense. But is it better to do a different move? Can you play here? Then there's like e5, knight takes d5, e6. Looks very scary for black. I mean, the honest truth is, like, you're probably sacking on f5 and playing like rook f3. My friend Tortervin used to get a lot of games like in the F3 Nimzo. I mean, it's very possible that this is just over, you know. Rook F3 in here, and there's no way that Black can survive. There's no way he's surviving here. +5, +6. So I don't know that Black can survive. Knight G7 takes. And so, well, Rook takes, Bishop takes. You're losing anyway. Black's losing anyway. Yeah. Yeah, it's a classic F3 Nimzo, you know. Crushing. Black's pieces on the queen side didn't save him. All right, guys, I got to go. Thanks. Good games. I will see you all Friday and Sunday. Have a great weekend if I don't see you. Simon on Sunday, guys. Don't forget. Thank you for your support, Mr. Slow. Those who donated and subscribed. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good game. I would have guessed it was a normal F3 Nimzo. See you guys later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.